collective 5D mystic, spiritual, mindful, living, loving people, and whoever will tune in to the replay. Obviously, to those who will tune into live, it'll be interesting to see. It's been a while. This one's going to be very focused as we are having a couple of more episodes, or at least one more, and a TikTok live. But in the meantime, so what hypocrisy looks like to enlightened ones. First of all, we looked at 3 signs to spot if you've met an enlightened one, if you are an enlightened one. Also, we want to share how to spot truth. So hypocrisy, number 1, are the people who are pretending to be themselves, which means they're not securely attached yet. So they don't own their child parts. Okay, so let's go over first the 3 signs. Enlightened ones, if you're it, if you're not it, it's not a race, but it really is fascinating. Oh, and humanly speaking, it's called integrated brain, restored, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating life, in case you just want to know what it is. Oh, and you get to go with the flow. So neuroscientists explain how amazing it is. I know all about it. So an enlightened one is a person who has what I'm going to say is common sense, groundedness, and therefore emotional mastery, maturity, and complete mental faculties in their prefrontal cortex when they get in all of the emotions. So sign number 1, enlightened one, and or if you've met one, compassion. From here to here to here, towards themselves with their flaws and imperfections, towards others, even hypocrites like my facade friend, so people who pretend to be their self who are wearing a Cusco mask. They're basically, aka adaptive child part people, aka emotionally immature people, aka dysregulated human beings who don't know that they can move into equanimity. No, they do know. They just say, we're not here to be calm and centered and enlightened and discerning. We're discerning with our self-righteous butthole. So hypocrites like my facade friend. They're the teenage version of themselves. I'm 45. I didn't realize how many teenagers I'd meet as I grew up, but thanks to my facade friend, I don't call them hypocrites. And he called me a hypocrite because an enlightened one, in addition to being compassionate towards self and other and all, we are emotion mature, which means that we forgive easily, but we also tell you what we think, exactly how we feel it easily. There's no, let me hide it. No, I'm angry at you right now. No, not because you, but because I'm angry. So we don't project it though. Like my BFFF, when I went to her, I waited for 7 days because she lied to me. And I said, okay, I'm going to wait till I'm calm because if I'm angry, I will say things that I might not mean. So this is Maria as I think it was about 18. Yes, I was smart enough to know that anger saturates the hippocampus with cortisol. It was very easy as I continued going to college and getting pissed when I'd come back and they'd ask me the same question over and over again instead of asking me, how's school going? What's your career plans? And then you meet people who have different feelings. So I'm going to leave that alone. So enlightened ones, number 1 sign, you have compassion for self and others and the world. And that's because your ventral vagal state is very important. So hypocrites don't have any of this, which is why they switch it up. Because, well, smart human beings that are helping people to become enlightened and strong, they are people like Patrick Tian. He's amazing. And he says half-safe people, which basically is any Cusco out there, they flip it up. So when you hear me say teenagers, it's a hypocrite who's like my facade friend who doesn't know how to be their self because they're ashamed still. And I have no... God chimes in. So I'm a mystic, I'm spiritual, I channel and download. So there's going to be a little bit of this and that, and the guides and all of the galactic beings and God, they're like, okay, Maria, it's time to bring forth your full-on woo pseudoscience wacko-ness. And I'm like, yeah, rock on, because 4D continue to talk to you about this evil stuff. Yesterday I shared with you a short. Evil is at best Gargamel from the Smurfs. Like, I'm not joking. For a person who's in their ventral vagal state. So compassionate, number 1. And that's because you're ready for it, not because you have to. Forgiving, number 2, so I feel easily. Hi, and nice to see you here, Giuseppe Accorra. I might have not pronounced it right, but so with that being said, my facade friend, I forgave him, but really we don't do the I forgave because it sounds pretty petty to say that and use the word that way, but what I can tell you is that I know that I'm flawed and imperfect and that I still yelled in my friend's face. And when he said that I was a hypocrite, it had been after I said, you're a hypocrite. Now, he's a hypocrite because he doesn't know how to keep his word. And he actually is a very self-serving person. I'm self-serving because I need air, water, food. I enjoy people, so I decide to hang out with people who I have fun with intellectually and emotionally. So emotionally mature people say, yeah, this is who I am. I didn't realize I was supposed to change for you. No. So when you own the sense of self, you're not a hypocrite. And as you'll find out from all the smart therapists, that's exactly why those who have an integrated brain, they're a conduit, because our default mode network is downregulated. So we're all motivated by 3 subcortical areas. So I and you work the same. The difference is I know how Maria works, and then I know that her 1-year-old doesn't need your approval, and nor does my 3-year-old, because I don't even need the approval of the same person who raised me. I'm Maria. You can't spank me. So I share with you stories, okay? So sign number 1, enlightened beings, compassionate, check. With yourself and others, check. That's a physiological state, by the way. It means that also with the world, we can cry and be sad that we have things going on. We can, obviously, anger is there because we would like to correct things, but anger is because we're sad that we're not bonding with all. And then we're also afraid that dark matter, dark energy might implode. So essentially, if you get to the bare bottom of it, of your entirety, you're like, I'm a freaking human in space. Now, Akash, I and Akash space, we're one. So again, please allow me to say, if you are not a believer in mysticism and spirituality, I'm okay with that, but I have experiences that, by the way, the scientists explain. Like this beautiful physicist, his name is Thomas Campbell, and he is the law of everything or something like that. And he's like, the brain is going to make sense of everything. So I'm like, what? It's cool because I believe in God. God's one and Akash is one. It's always going to have love in the forefront because God's not the bad person, right? Or the bad entity. So when we talk about bad, I do it this way because who's bad? I mean, I can be bad to somebody who's going to judge me, societally speaking. Of course, there's a good and bad. Yeah, effective people are actively, bilaterally, vertically, overall integrated. So that means they can have common sense while talking about politics, religion, and everything versus getting actually physical. When we actually have people who are dying for other reasons. So let's not even go there, shall we? So we forgive and feel easily because we do know what goes on with feelings, as we don't have laundry like a Zen master. So it means you know how to cry, be afraid, and be angry and say, okay, we want justice in the world. How do we bring it? Well, we need to get more people who would love to see the globe get together, and we don't have that, right? Okay, so subjective reality, pretty much we got that. So empowered feminines know about, yes, when we meet the masculines who are not empowered, they like to think that their way is the right way. When you meet empowered masculines, they know that there's many different ways. How do we bring it all together? And that's why empowered feminines and masculines work really well, because like, okay, yes, we see the same thing. We know we have some very big issues of people not getting along, like my facade friend and I, because I say tomato, they say tomato, but we can still try to communicate, okay? So that's the beauty of enlightened ones. They're not hypocrites in the way of the hypocrite who doesn't tend to themselves. When I see bodies in their modulated, dysregulated, they're a coward to a person like me. They chose not to be kind to their brothers and sisters. They chose not to be kind to themselves. They chose not to be compassionate. They chose to simply use the word forgive, and then they don't know how to forgive and just say, you know what, I'm still pissed. I'm still angry. I'm going to process. I don't know. Maybe I won't forgive you ever. Like to be able to just have an honest conversation with themselves and then say, it's not because I want to disrespect you. It's just, I'm not feeling it. If one is honest with feelings, there's no hypocrisy. When one is petty with feelings, like my facade friend, hi, thank you so much. You're so beautiful. Thank you. Wow. Thanks, Arcs Music. I'm happy you're enjoying. So as I was saying, that's so sweet. I'm having a good time. I kind of didn't come back for a while because there's a bunch of different types of ways people interact with the content when it's live, and I do things to inspire or share some words of wisdom for as much as I'm a little whack job like everybody else. But we're not fucked up in a way of staying miserable inside. So 3, the third sign of you being an enlightened one, a part of whether it's mystic, spiritual, mindful, so knowing how to use your embodied brain, which is really amazing. You enjoy thinking. I never realized how many people would not know the monsters that people have in their head have a possibility to get healed. It's really sad. They don't take ownership. Like, we're going to get to that in a minute. So you enjoy thinking and learning and exploring all mental activity and life events with curiosity. So again, this is not a race. I know self-led, self-agency, living this life since I was a kid. I'm not afraid of feelings. So 3 signs, you're an enlightened one, you're a self-agent with your body in connection. This is very important because otherwise you're doing bad resilience, which means that your body's still protecting itself. And that's unfortunate because then that means you have distress, not eustress. So first you get to learn how to harness your body. And as Peter Levine says, when we can feel our body as the container, then the emotions and the sensations do not feel as overwhelming. They are being contained. So Maria with panic attacks, easily able to handle them. Doesn't mean I like them, no, but I don't go whining on Therapy Nutshell's lady channel when she's giving me ways to work on it. Like, okay, I have an answer. Okay, let's get this undone, amygdala. Stop reacting every time we have big sensations. Let's work with our nervous system. So, and then differentiating helps a lot. Dr. Daniel Siegel helped me with that one in my courses when I asked him for advice. I'm like, so I walk into a room. No, I didn't say it that way. When we say I walk into a room, let's say stay home. No, I like to walk into a room and say to the people with me, okay, if you see me, get up and run. No, I'll get up and leave me alone. Means that some stuff's going on and I need to go away, because for another 15, 20 minutes, my nervous system needs to get back to whatever was, and obviously I might have people around me that I just need to go. So hypocrites, they don't know how to do this. They don't know how to be themselves and then just have fun with it. They don't know how to not take things personally. And I'm 45, and I thought that teenagers were the only immature people I would meet. Because once I got to college, I just didn't know, why are you drinking? I didn't do drugs, but yes, drugging and fucking in this way. You're not happy. You're in your early 20s, mid 20s. What are you doing? You're wasting money. I spent a buttload of money. I'm still paying my loans. Why would I go to college? And then, what gets me about people that talk to me about sororities and fraternities, because again, I've been to college, if you haven't, the fact that they think it's actually impressive that they allow themselves to be put in a room, closed, treated like pieces of shit, and then they think it's cool. And I think, how old are you and what movies are you watching? Hangover? Because seriously, it's not interesting. The fact that you actually want me to, I don't know, look at you, I need to look away, because the minute I start to actually think of how you enjoy yourself with a mediocre, low self-esteem and complete buffoonery, I need to go, because God's going to chime in and say, Maria, that's not your place. I'm going to say, yes, you know what? I'm an old soul. I've been around for a while. I've already done all of that. I guess the soul age groups of relationship and societal, because there's different soul age groups, FYI. So that's my answer to why not everyone might choose to enlighten themselves. Like my facade friend, who is living out his life in a stagnating form. He's happy as can be. I know he could have done more, but he didn't heal his attachment wounds. So he continues to play Cusco. The role of Cusco is unimpressive, because it means that you're only doing half of what you could have done, and you could do more, but your body is not ready to yet because your mind ain't being used correctly. Correctly means that you can use equanimity as your essence. Thoughts are calm and centered if you are in a state of love, body connected, and then you can discern. And it's not based on what I like or don't like. I know sciences and how they come together. I will, at least for me, a master's degree. If they're not with their peers, then they've excluded themselves. They're hypocrites, and they're selling to you what they believe works. No, I know the right way. Sure you do, but you've excluded yourself from being around your colleagues, which means you're not going to continue testing it. And I don't know, we might discover something. Like the fact that we discovered epilepsy is not the wrath of the gods, and like we've discovered the brain heals itself, and there's no person who has a demon inside of them, but they can have fragmented states of self and have what is called biological paradox, because that's what happens to an attachment disorganized, poor human being who has fragmented states of self. And I said poor. Yes, there's choices they can make. Take themselves to therapists the minute they notice that they're really not thinking in ways that are kind. But then let's go look outside what's happening, and then let's look at the very, very crappy movies. Yes, so I'm not entertained by that entertainment. I have new entertainment for all of those who are part of IHP community. Evil, it's like Gargamel. And the ones of us who are 5D, mystic, spiritual, mindful, enlightened ones, we're like the Smurfs and the Care Bears. And that's the 5D collective. 4D doesn't feel this way because they're still living out our ancestors, and they ignore that their body is not yet a window of welcome to their emotional plane, because they don't know how to self-regulate in their ventral vagal state. And they don't like equanimity, which is actually the MO of those who don't have that, which is a safety in being human. So they think humans are broken, that we're yucky, and that we need to be punished. And then they like to use monstrous stories, and they even like to use, ancient books, and they like to make it seem like any of that which would create us would actually want to induct fear in us, which is a sign that they got in their homes made to be afraid of feelings and of being alive. That's why my heart breaks for everyone. I don't see the evil people with this monstrous, no, they're Gargamel. And Gargamel's a buffoon, like my facade friend and Cusco, and anyone else who doesn't go and work with someone like Patrick Chan to become their real self, which is an honor to meet whenever I'm meeting anybody who is their real self. So I love my facade friend and all my facade friends. but they could have become more than what they did become. And then once you start using the dark sides of neuroplasticity, I inform you, imagine Pinocchio, his island. They don't leave. Some have donkeys, complete donkey transformation. Others have donkey with ears. Others stay wooden. I don't know, but basically, or children that are not children, again, the Pinocchio on the island, and they continue to think that that is cool. Does anybody remember realizing that's not cool? I was a teenager. I was like, okay, I was stupid, but you're all not cool. Like, you're just doing things that are ridiculously dangerous, unhealthy. What the heck? And then I get to college. I'm like not looking at that as, wow, let me judge you. It's okay. So 3 signs you're enlightened. Okay, we're going to go extended. Then I'm going to review the hypocrite thing, and then I'm going to let you go. You're self-agent with your body in connection, and you don't have, or you are able to work with, if ever there are envy, jealousy, spite, because I don't know any of your journeys, but I didn't have it, but I have a twin. So anytime you're feeling like energy that's like, oh, I'm insecure, you work with it, because why would you be insecure with yourself? That's for self-agents, okay? So self-agents are aware of themselves. Then they're accountable and they regulate in their ventral vagal state. So it's very specific. It's not your body's protected. You don't justify irritation. You say, okay, what am I irritated about? Number 2, you have an open heart. So even when you feel sad, mad, it's open and afraid. So it's a healthy self-soothing, regulating, okay? So it's not, let me go drink, drug, do, fucking drink, whatever it is. It's not any of that. And I'm not going to go vent. I'm not none of those unhealthy patterns. I actually will use that moment, activities that are healthy, breathing, obviously. I'm mindfulness, mindset, mentor, content creator, podcast host, but you might not use the words. You're just self-aware. So you know, okay, how am I going to work with today? Because I got the 24 hours. Okay, so enlightened ones will work with themselves, consistently expanding. Hypocrites will just pretend. In fact, you know what hypocrites do? They make sure that you know how diligent they are. I'm right about everything. I'm always on point. I'm a perfectionist, but a healthy kind, because I can fuck it up all the time. So I have one of my friends, as they decided, because this one place we wanted to go to didn't actually respect they had a sign, you know, like when you go to Google, open Monday through Friday, blah, blah, blah. So according to Google, it was supposed to be open. And so my friend makes a big deal about it. It's like, I'm not ever going to come here again, like a black and white teenager does, because that's the only time I thought it was actually okay to think good and bad in this black and white way. So if somebody is a limited consciousness, they're a hypocrite, because they're going to be all entitled, think they know everything, and then, oh, there it is, the minute you make a mistake. So I make mistakes all the time. I'll own up to it. So my friend made this big deal. I said, look, we like this place. Don't get flexible already. And they've done this with another thing too, but I'm going to leave that one to the side. So in this case, I said, look, let's go together. Do it for me. We're friends. I like it. You like it. Let's just don't make it such a big deal. So long story short, they tell me they're going to be out on an evening, because they're always very on point about all of this perfectionism, and they're always going to match their word. I believe them. I show up. They don't come. And I find out they're not coming. So I made it a point to say, so now that you have shown me that you don't know how to keep your word, how should I handle this? You know, and then I tease them about it, but it was also to try and get them to, one, lighten up, and you fucked up. Or maybe you just didn't give a shit to tell your friend, I ain't coming out. So let's see, which one is it? Am I of convenience to you? Probably, yeah. That's okay, though. But let's remember, we all can make mistakes. So hypocrites don't notice that everyone can make a mistake, and then they don't notice it with humility. They actually continue to want to allow themselves to say, I'm right, they're wrong, with feelings. While we all can be wrong, we all can be right. And so enlightened ones aren't dumb idiots who actually harbor resentment, revenge, and a bunch of petty little energies that the people who heal from any of that childhood stuff, they will be able to learn how to be a functional adult. And I like functional child adults, because we also forgive, because, you know, I mean, in my book, I'm a spiritual mystic, so God always has everything taken care of, and he's perfect. And Akash is perfect. And when you actually know this, that's why blind faith is not about being angry in people's faces. Actually, those people are completely distorted. They have closed their heart. They actually have taken up arms. They've dressed themselves up. So if someone's a mystic spiritual and saying they're divinity, but they don't know how to forgive, they ain't no divinity, that's for sure. They're just using their mouth to use a word that they've been sold and that a bunch of other people will. And we know who they are. Pinocchio. Hey, Peter Pan, how the Lost Boys doing? Who's your Wendy today? how many different Wendy's you got? Are you going off to the island all by yourself so you can hang out and prove to each other that you're right about everything? Because, I know flat earthers, they completely continue to tell Neil deGrasse he's wrong, because he recently did a video. I'm just making it up. But the point is, I'm sure that they're going to try and disprove this recent Neil deGrasse video where he's like, here's the earth, it's round, it's round. But then again, aren't we happy that we have people who are curious about things in ways that are completely against what, I don't know, that's good to be curious, except for, are they curious, or are they just trying to make a special group? And then they're just trying to play, no, we're the ones who are really right. You're not, you're wrong. I'm curious about them. I watched the documentary, by the way, but I can make sense to me too. So I totally understand it, which is why when my friend called me a hypocrite, at first I was like, no, I'm not. I keep my word. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Let's hear what he has to say. Why am I a hypocrite? Because you say this and that are true, which enlightened ones do, because we're not like only one way. We're grounded in reality, like Sam Harris points out. So all of our cherishable beliefs can be falsifiable. I love you, God. I believe in God, and then I have in my mind's eye all of those who have accompanied me as I've ascended and expanded and who want to be integrated now with the Inspiring Human Potential content with Maria, with our paid subscribers and workshops, because definitely it's amazing. Oh, the galactic beings, they're the most fun. No, they're all fun. Buddha and I have a thing because I still make fun of him for sitting under a tree, and he makes fun of me because I get to spot the suffering ones, and then God reminds me not to judge them, a waste of my fucking time, and I say, yeah, but they're not going to do the right thing. Sign number 3, you lead your thoughts. I love leading thoughts. Okay, you lead your thoughts with discerning equanimous love, which, FYI, I'm a co-author of a book. It's called The Ways to God. The chapter, you learn a little bit about Maria and my faith and all that happened as I got to become this person you see here with clairs. And I told God, I said, look, Lucifer, nowhere to be found. Cloak people, I really wish that they would get on board with Dalai Lama. I have clairs now, so they won't all accept that spiritual gifts, clairs, and neuroscientists know all about it, and science talks about our clairs. They just don't believe that it's real. They believe it's virtual reality, and then our brain makes sense of everything. The spiritual ones, we're like, oh, look, all our spiritual ancestors are with us. Isn't it the same thing? Yes, it's the same thing. For me, it's the same thing because I'm not picking one or the other. I'm both. Wait, I'm sorry. I'm 3. Spiritual, mystic, that's right, and science, mindful. And then I get to have fun because why not? Words, they're not powerful. They're just words. I don't use it like a dictionary. If you're new, don't use dictionaries, because sometimes I actually just use the ones that sound better. I'm not joking, because I'm frequency. And so it's like, but this one sounded right. I'm trying to use it. And then I also forget meanings. And so, I just go with the gist of it. So I'm not right all the time. Actually, I can be wrong a lot of times. But in the meantime, what I do know is that scientists prove that your enlightenment, meaning you being able to enlighten, comes when you own the 2 sides of your brain. So when your left talks and your right feels, and you have bilateral integration, you say, look, I'm self-aware, I got some irritation going on or whatever, right? And then it's okay, I can calm down. And so that's where my 3-year-old, she still has a big deal with it with my mom. I still don't know how to calm down that easily, and that's why you continuously, as an Akashic record reader, you are mastering mental, emotional, and physical mastery. And with 2 Kundalini awakenings, and then light body, and rainbow body, and I have a timeline, but once I got even more, this big energy came. And I call it Uranus right now, but I don't know if it's Uranus. All I can tell you is when it came, I was like, okay, I need help. All you need is love. No, I need help. Wait, which one was the other one? The one with friends that... I need help from my friends that I don't remember all lyrics, but the point was that I did get help. Sadhguru came across my feed. I was like, oh my God, Sadhguru, I love you. So with that, I love a lot of people though. Remember, if you're new, you don't know that. But Sadhguru, he is pretty awesome. And I learned a lot about Kali, Krishna Lila, and Shiva from him. Well, Kali, Shiva, and Krishna Lila, excuse me. So not the same stories that other people will tell you. And that's why Anima Mundi right here, we accept all, we reject none. The evil thing, it's because, one, for people, we have a forensic criminologist who has a scale. And they all end up in prison except for the ones who are the leaders of the pack. So Peter Pan's and Wendy's. And they're all hypocrites to me because they lead their child to rotten hell inside their body. So I don't look at them. That's why they're in a corner with Gargamel and they're just a little black cloud. That's it. It's like a rainy day. So they can transform into, Eeyore or He-Man, She-Man, whatever, all those cartoons. And they continue to just play out cartoons. They're not even movies because, movies would make them more like Roger Rabbit. Watch Roger Rabbit. So that's what happens in the mind's eye of Maria. There's a bunch in the distance. They don't get too close, because the nice thing about having a body that is in connection and an integrated brain and being grounded in reality is that I actually think you may be right, I may be crazy, but it might just be a lunatic here looking forward. No, I'm not crazy. Nobody's really crazy. Yeah, we don't use those words anymore. We use, okay, do you have an integrated brain, a restored embodiment? Are you grounded in aliveness? I know how to ground, and then I know what the pseudo-alive look like. And then they think that they've time jumped and time traveled. And it's not that stuff I don't get the words. No, it's that they actually need support to get their body better, and they don't care because now they think they're anointed and special. And then they think there's a good team and a bad team. And then I say, you do realize we're all energy, right? I mean, once you moved into becoming a mystic, in addition to our spiritual stories, you do know Akash is energy. Like energy, like a star. So there's not a good and a bad energy. It's a frequency, which also means that you would understand it doesn't have words. It doesn't have an image. So when they don't like what they hear, and then they just say that's a bullshitter, or that's an evil one, and they just use those names because they don't know how to handle when you're saying, okay, frequency, energy, and I don't know all the words because I'm not a mathematician, but basically it's like a guitar string. And so you do know how to, as we conclude, discern equanimous love conversations with your thoughts. And the frequency, it's not a sharp tongue or a self-righteous, that's angry little energy or suffering energy. The dysregulated people, like my facade friend, it's not that they are incapable. They are capable if they want to become self-aware, accountable, regulating, but they don't want to. And they have enough stories and enough of those individuals who are telling them that the modern day therapists are wrong or whatever, but really they also have this way of creating. Stephen Porges, where are you? He is the one who makes sense of it, which is why I'm not here to talk sense to people. I'm here with the Inspiring Human Potential community. And talking sense to me won't happen. But see, I don't do the I believe. I believe in God. And yes, I believe in spiritual mystic life because I live it. But I do know science, so I know facts. I know facts because it's tangible, not because it's more real, but because there's data. I appreciate my quantitative data analysis, and I don't appreciate the pseudo-intellectuals due to the fact that I'm educated. It might be that. But I'm also discerning, very interested, curious mind since as a kid. So when I'm seeing a bunch of buffoons between mystic, spiritual, and mindful that are not actually caring about how they're approaching a bunch of different topics, I just think, one, I found out in a very unique way about Aristotle's philosophy. It was something about, we all look for meaning in life, which, no shit, Sherlock. But the meaning that he talks about is this happiness. And this is the one key that people are, we can't always be happy. Yeah, you can, your ventral energy, but you have different emotions. But your ventral energy will look happy to those who are miserable inside, who don't know how to wield their embodied brain, like my facade friend, who are petty and become buffoons with their little swords in their heads because they don't know how to talk. And then they don't know how to handle themselves. And when they don't know how to handle themselves, then they don't know how to continue engaging. I don't know regurgitation of material, and I don't plan on proving things. So I disengage completely from an immature conversation because I ain't here to argue. If I wanted to argue a hypothesis or theory, I'd be doing a dissertation, not being in the presence of a buffoon. So when I see pseudo-intellectuals who are actually acting like I know who falls for that shit. It's not funny. I actually don't think it's funny because that's the whole point. When you deal with trauma victims, their nervous system is a neuroceptive state that has great advantages in detecting a predator, which is an animal, but is totally compromised in being social. Thank you, Stephen Porges. And they might be right about negative ways of thinking patterns, but when it comes to meeting neutrality, they are going to be wrong. And that's because they will think something's going on behind the scenes, and they will create a story about it because they don't trust kind people. And then they're going to actually act like buffoons. Thank you, Dr. Daniel Fox, as he explains what happens when people have black and white extreme thinking. They have family in their head, they make up stories, and then they're going to point a finger at somebody who's neutral, who's not doing anything. Don't look at me. I'm not an alcoholic. I know what they say about me. I was not looking at you. I didn't use the word alcoholic, and actually I was looking over you. I don't know what you're talking about, and wow. So by the third time, this is another person who I became friends with, but people who like to make up shit in their head, it's because they have insecurities, because at the end of the day, you don't know where I'm looking. I don't know where someone's looking. And then this is why tangible is what matters, because common sense people. So hypocrites, they like to use fancy words. They like to use the integrity and the stance, but then watch how they treat each other. So if somebody actually embodies any remote little bit of divinity, it's once they overflow with humanity, because they'll recognize with humility, I can make mistakes here. So no, I don't get angry to correct you. And as for the big globe, well, we got a bunch of people who actually allow themselves to support their own irritable, self-righteous buttholes. And that's exactly why they don't impress a person who's enlightened. They're just going to be the same Cusco hypocrites who blame Pacha, turn it around, make it seem like they're right. And then once they're in the middle of the episode, then they cry on themselves and oh, I'm so, and then what? This is why Buddha and I, again, with what I have, it's like you sat under a tree. So what did you do? Now I know what is so once you have dissolved that which is, I'm going to bring it to you humanly speaking, once you learn to self-regulate and say, oh, look, I have feelings like every other human being on the face of this planet, and my anger isn't justified. I get angry because like anybody else, I want to see things work in the world. I care. Once you say, I care, you have reframed it to what is the actual meaning. I care, I'm afraid, and I'm sad because things aren't going the way we would want them to go. And we get to deal with the uncertainty, unexpected, and unwanteds of life that human beings with secondary consciousness have a problem with. I don't. I have a condition, not a dilemma. But the ones who have a dilemma, they could get out of it by becoming self-led, by becoming sovereign, and actually knowing, yeah, we all can act. It's amazing when you're empowered with all your emotions, by the way, especially when you're empowered with the ones that are like anger. And so you can spot it and you allow yourself to go to humility. And I mean, in my case, God always chimes in, and so do all the other lovely beings that are here right now. Okay, let me read Stephen Porges first. When people get triggered into either mobilization, defenses, or shutting down, they develop elaborate narratives to make sense of what their body is doing. And I'm very excited, by the way. I want to get to TikTok, so I'm going to try and wrap it up. I was planning on making a short episode. We tend to think of triggers as words or scripts or contexts. I'd like therapists to think of them as triggers of physiological states. So that's Stephen Porges. In case you don't know him, he's amazing, and he's still working to prove the polyvagal theory. And in the meantime, we're all, the ones of us who are attachment trauma educated, know how to support each other. But that's for those who are self-aware, accountable, and want self-regulation the healthy way. So the hypocrites are all the ones who pretend, and they don't know how to forgive because they are not physiologically in a state of compassion. So they don't know how to wield their thoughts with ease, curiosity, and then to have a good interaction intellectually, emotionally, and physically. They don't, therefore, have an open heart to remember we're all imperfect, flawed. We all come from somewhere, humanly speaking. Then as for mystic spiritual ones, I can tell you, Earth is Dharma, number one. All souls are here to expand, number two. None of the individuals who are mystics, enlightened ones, or spiritual would in any way, shape, or form tell you that someone won't expand to their potential, because that's bullshit. They will know automatically it's not my call, it's the person's call, period. That's it. You don't go in other people's spaces to try and decipher where they're going to go or not. If they're coming for a consult, that's a whole different story, but they're coming for guidance and a consult, and they bring to you those details. When it comes to us and looking out there in the world, it's none of our business what those 8 billion people from their soul's mission and whatnot. Okay, so from a spiritual perspective, from science's perspective, there's a bunch who say you have no free will and you've been determined. I beg to differ, because I believe you have the power. I've got the power. Yes, you've got the power, like my facade friend, to think and to feel and to open your heart and to forgive and to be compassionate, and then to be objective with yourself. So let me conclude with those 3 signs. Again, enlightened ones, compassionate, forgiving, and they enjoy thinking and they're curious. And they understand that the people who can't do it yet, that's because they have a journey that they could be on if they wanted to. So my facade friend, one of the many who has attachment wounds, I'm sure, abandonment, rejection wounds. So they're afraid that they won't be loved for who they are in their imperfections, which means that they'll be cut out of the herd, which means they'll be all alone, and that's just something unbearable for their child part. Mine doesn't have that. She's good. So you can say, Maria, you're out of the herd. I'll be like, fine, I'll see you later. I'll make it, and if I don't, well, I ain't going to beg to stay in the herd. is that would be miserable. I'd be miserable seeing a herd that doesn't want me. Okay, so the enlightened ones don't need the thumbs up or the thumbs down. They enjoy each other. Again, securely attached, non-traumatized people, restored, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating. Mystic, spiritual, no, God, Akash, Source have everything taken care of. We don't need to interject because the one thing we're being brought is the free will to choose to ascend. That always means the same thing. To be in the frequency of, oh, look, I got upset. I'm going to process it. I'm going to expand my thoughts. I'm going to process the emotion as the emotion. And I'm going to be, there's no ego, death, dark night of soul. If you're your whole self, sense of self, body connection, okay? If you're not, that's a whole different story, which is why they wear masks. So my facade friend, his story is a lengthy story, but to give you the gist of it, life's like, okay, here's the last shot. No, it wasn't the last shot. First, there's the first push to, okay, become himself and get rid of his Achilles heel. Then he gets a second push, and in the second push, I'm the one who we become friends again, and no, this is where we start hanging out. Then we have the third push where we become friends again, and then he has a fourth. Okay, so he had about 4 moments throughout his lifetime where he got, as the spiritual mystics one would say, life said, okay, come on, be yourself. You have more that you can offer. Humanly speaking, it means you can be the person you want to be. Humanly speaking, it means I won't be dating people who treat me a certain way. I won't be, if you're low on energy, you realize I need support to become self-confident, self-empowered. So you just talk sense to yourself and say, okay, I'm going to get that extra help that I know can lead me to be consistently energized. People who think you can't are the ones who don't know the body in connection. They don't know an integrated brain yet. That's why the ups and downs are clearly the fight response teenager, and it is in fact from ego, but it's not just ego. It's the way you're wielding your thoughts when you're getting pissy and then when you're seeing the injustice. So instead of processing, I'm upset because I'm sad, I'm angry, and I'm afraid, and then becoming a grown-up about it, people will stay in this stagnating adolescent with their 0-8. In fact, the emotionally mature level is a 0-8-year-old, and you got an emotionally immature person, which is why it's an adaptive child part. Which is also why the hypocrites use the dark sides of neuroplasticity. They stay in the same. So like my facade friend, they got stereotypes, generalizations, and you'll see that they get more and more rigid, and then they conform completely, like the other story I gave you, to, oh, I know everything and nobody does and everybody else doesn't, and I'm always right. So if they've committed to that, you're just going to learn they're like a little donkey. It's a pattern on a wheelhouse. Once you are established on how their ego works, because they're subject to their insecurities, you're going to be able to have a good time because they're not going to feel offended. You will have learned how to support their emotionally immature, insecure. This is not about making them think that they're right or not. It's about reassuring them. That's exactly why it's not tiresome. It doesn't drain you. It's like, okay, I got a child basically who doesn't know they're grown up. I can say we have different opinions, but I love you for who you are, accept. So that's why handling any emotionally immature person is easy peasy. Unhealthy self-worth people won't want to be around enlightened ones because we don't bullshit you. And I'll say, look, of course, you and I are different. You be you, I be me. But don't. So my facade friend, in his fourth, when life's like, okay, come on, get your life together. Are you really sure? He and I have this very serious conversation where, and I won't give it all to you, but I'm like, okay, you know what you just told me, and you identified that you're doing it. Well, take ownership. Completely cut out this relationship that is simply serving you because it's a comfortable blanket, and get on with your life. Continue living it. And he said, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to have a conversation. He left our conversation, went back to where he lives, and he didn't do that. He stayed in the safety of his comfort. But what did he tell me about what he learned? He said, Maria, I learned what true love is. It's about caring for each other without having any expectations, without having any of that superficial stuff. It's very superficial. And when I say superficial, I mean that he thinks of aesthetics, so looks. He thinks of money. He thinks of the highlight, like, movie. So and it wasn't just a thought. Like his actual idea was that this is, and he had that. That's the point why when it got taken, he had the perfect life. The life he thought was perfect. And life said, nah, you got that, but nope, that's not what life is. So in this last round where he doesn't say, I can still have that life and gain therefore death, he chooses to stay where he's at. And he chooses also to stay in something that is not his top notch. But he learned about love. And for all I know, since, again, God, Akash Source is the it, not Maria. Although as an Akashic record reader, if I wanted to, I could read for my friend, but that's the point, he didn't ask. And he doesn't believe in any of this stuff. So I wouldn't in any way, shape, or form dare do a reading. There's no need. But the book, and if you've heard of LBLTs, Life Before Life hypnotherapy, so those sessions, they get you to go all the way back to the beginning, and you get to ask questions about your soul's mission and stuff. Is really fun. And it's insightful for those of us who do spiritual and personal growth, or one or the both. But yeah, my facade friend doesn't believe in any of it. So what I can tell you from the observer on the outside is that he gave up on himself, and he gave up on his dreams, and he gave up on what, it's not about you not being able to have the aesthetic and the money. You can, whatever you want in life, you can have, but with depth. So he could have still learned the same lesson about love and said, you know what, no, I believe in love. I believe I can have this stuff, entrepreneurial brain. He's amazing. His entrepreneurial brain is just fabulous. Instead of that, though, he completely just didn't. And this is where I think of the attachment trauma educators, and when people don't reclaim who they are, but they stay Cusco. Okay, so that's why I'm bringing in the hypocrisy, the enlightened ones, but with the human elements. When you see people who don't grow up for real, that's why they're Peter Pans, Lost Boys, they're Pinocchios, they're Gargamel, they're all these weak cowards who don't go and get themselves help. The therapists have been around for a while. I'm only the last 5-ish years trauma attachment educated and informed, but they've been doing research and practicing for a while. So anybody who wants to tell me they're smart, enlightened, and then doesn't notice their lack of confidence, their lack of consistent ability to show up, well, obviously you're ignoring very valuable information, and it's not the algorithm that tricks you. You will be the one who's searching for things. So this is where people who find something to blame, it means that they're not taking ownership of their life, which is why they're not enlightening. And this is also why they're not a grown-up. So like my facade friend, he never took ownership. Reason I didn't talk to him for a whole 5 years is because he didn't take ownership when he chose to lie in my face, hide something that there was nothing to hide, him dating someone behind my back for a whole 7 days. Not 1 day, 7 days. To which I said, you lying means you don't think I wanted your happiness. What kind of a friend does that make me? I'm not your friend. Because if you didn't believe that I would want you to be happy, this is not friendship. And so hypocrites are people who don't know how to stand with their feelings, their thoughts, and themselves. And the therapists make it very clear why. And when they're grown human beings, my facade friend has my age. Okay, and that's why when it comes to life, God, and source, and all of it, it pushes you to be your true self. And some will be it. The 5D collective is there. The 4D, 3D, they're consistently committing to their teenage version. Like my facade friend who did learn a very valuable lesson. Yes, love is not about the external stuff, but he didn't learn how to believe in himself and that he could have what is also what he enjoys. So he didn't pose more profound questions, but above all, he didn't do the brave thing. Because the brave thing would have cost him a conversation that would have given him actual guts, which is a breakup, just in case you're curious. It was a breakup that would have respected another human being, but at the same time, I am happy that my facade friend is happy, and I know he did find true love, because the point is the person that loves him for who he is, and in fact, always wanted the one thing that is love, him to be happy, which is why it was all, at the end of the day, no matter what, you're going to achieve something if you're going to choose love. If you choose fear, well, that looks like a lot of different things, and it's not really going to be around those of us with ventral energy, because like all of the smart therapists point out, healthy self-worth people, even the emotionally immature ones, there's still calibers of it, if you will, and well, it's a bigger topic than I have time for today, but the world is a globe, and we have 8 billion people, and we have a lot of things going on. And as some smart, lovely live participants have mentioned, not all places in the world have the opportunity to live with mindfulness in the forefront and to be able to do the body and connection. So at the end of the day, Hypocrites are not fun, but they're not the worst of what we got going on and what we get to deal with. Enlightened ones, again, the 3 signs, you can go check out our short, you can go check out the episode. And for that which is self-agents, welcome aboard. And our future is going to be, I'm curious to see how it's going to play out, but I know it'll all be great. As humans always evolve, expand, and God always wins, and so does Akash, Source, and again, all the words come together. It's sad for me to see that there's a bunch of people who think that they know how to use their brain, and I notice that they don't know how to have fun with thoughts, which is why they don't know how to use their brain. Because if you have fun with thoughts, then you have fun with the information that you're assimilating. If you have fun with feeling, you then allow that. So when you have fun in here, you're owning the sense of self. So you're owning your personality patterns, you own your temperament, you own everything. And that's why you're a grown-up, which is why you can handle knowing it's not about right or wrong. It's not about me knowing all of it, but I can tell when someone's being brave and they're having faith in themselves and trust, and then they're going to go and be curious versus someone who is instead going to be afraid and disheartened, and then get bitter and angry, and depending on the level and the degree. And so it's again, something that is a choice for some of us. For others, it is thanks to some of us that others will be able to have a choice. And at the end of the day, humans are moving forward as we expand consciousness. We are learning how to use, all of us, our lovely nervous system. So body connected, ventral vagal state, restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating people. Join us. I am a woo-woo pseudoscience, and I have now an equipe of people, not people, all of the lovely galactic beings, angels, archangels, God. And so I still haven't decided how I want to do it, because I don't like to use the word channel guidance necessarily, even though it is channel guidance. For the podcast, yes, but for videos, I like to interact with you. And today we had a nice, quiet, I like it. We had a nice, quiet live. Thank you for interacting with us, Giuseppe and ARX Music, and for all of you who tuned in, and for all of those who will watch the replay. It was a pleasure to be here. It had been a while, so I enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, I know that I told one of our lives that I would be back with a specific, I did one of the episodes, the other one I didn't. And that's because the person had mentioned a word that I didn't know, and it's a timeline, and that's actually a person who's perceiving everything that's happening in a negative way, and with a book, basically, and something that isn't what is taking place. So for those who are grounded in reality, we know when change happens, people, human beings, are some overwhelmed, some are not. And so the ones of us who are not, we get to try to stay grounded in reality and chit-chat with people in diversity, and it's always going to be another day. So thanks for stopping by. I have to go now, and we will be back again, though.